What's up, guys? Final Fantasy VII Remake hit Steam, so it's time to take a look at the performance and settings for Steam Deck. And while there's not a lot of options to deal with in settings, there's quite a little bit you can do to get the kind of performance that you want. Now, as far as your options go, let's go over these real quick. You've got windowed and borderless windowed. 720p is the standard we're going to run at here. There's no 800p option. You will have the little black bars above and below your screen a little bit there. We are texture resolution high and low option, and shadow resolution is a high and low option as well. My understanding of these is basically PS4 textures and shadows versus PS5 textures and shadows, as far as just in general what those settings mean. Now, as far as frame rate, we'll leave things at 60. We're on the Steam Deck, so we're not going to go above that. And 30 FPS I'll talk about later. We definitely don't want to play at that if we don't have to. Characters displayed, we're going to leave it the default 8. If you did have issues with performance down the road, you could tweak that a little bit. But anyway, we'll get in here to low, and what that means is low textures and low shadows, and you'll see these labelings throughout the video, and things run pretty smooth here. Now, I know some people are having a lot of micro stutter issues. I haven't experienced that too much in this game, even though it does support dynamic resolution that you can't turn off without some workarounds and mods, which we won't focus on in this video. But it does have that, which can muddy up the picture and mess with your frame rate a little bit. So everything switched over to high here for texture resolution and shadow resolution. And you'll see we lose about 13 FPS just standing here in the same spot. And you'll see here in a minute that most of that's due to the shadow resolution. Shadows always hit systems the hardest, and I don't recommend using high shadow resolution in this game at all on Steam Deck unless you're running 30 FPS as your lock, which I'm not going to show in this video. I really don't want to play this game at 30 FPS if I don't have to, and it's not worth trying to get the higher shadow resolutions at 720p on the small Steam Deck screen. But we'll go in here and we're going to turn those off, and you'll see that we pretty much just go back to our 53 FPS that we had here at low with our high-low here. The only real difference is there are some areas of the game that does seem where this could impact performance a little bit, but I think what you'll see throughout this video is that whether you're on low or high-low, you're going to do pretty well when it comes to performance, whether you're running 60 Hertz or 40 Hertz, which we'll get into as well. But it's those shadow resolutions that you really just want to kind of stay away from. They're really going to tank your performance, and as you'll see later, hurt your battery a bit more as well. So I'm going to switch things back over to the low that we had started with here. And in just a second, we're going to take a look at some still pictures so that you can see the difference between the low and the high, because there is visual difference, especially if you're looking at this on a larger screen. So here's the still image right here of low. And now we're about to switch over and just watch the screen here, and you'll see the increased detail, of course, in the textures and shadows. More so in the textures, and I think if you really wanted to just run this at the best look you can, especially with that dynamic resolution going on, stick with high-low. If you really wanted to with that. The higher textures, the lower shadows, you're going to do okay. Now, let's switch over to 40 Hertz because this is a fantastic feature of the Steam Deck to actually get our screen running 40 Hertz instead of 60, which is going to cap our game at 40. This does a lot of different things when it comes to our settings and our battery performance. So here at low, locked at 40, we'll get a pretty clean frame time. And again, I'll see some dips from time to time. That's probably due to the dynamic resolution, but for the most part, I don't get any micro stutters or issues or have any problems, and performance stays pretty good. Granted, we're only using a couple areas of this game to test performance. I have tried it out in a few different areas, and we're going to go into some combat here in just a minute, but you can see here on high, again, don't recommend the high shadow resolutions. You'll see dips here. You would really want to be capping at 30 again if you were going to do this, and it does also eat a ton more battery, especially at 40 Hertz, which we'll get ready to take a look at here as we jump into combat. So low, high, and high on our settings here, and you can see that as far as performance, low or high-low, you're going to do pretty well. For the most part, on the smaller screen at 720p, you're not typically going to notice a huge difference in low and high-low necessarily, but the options are there. High, though, as you can see from the battery wattage, the usage there, you are going to burn through your battery quicker with much less performance consistency if you're running that way. I just really don't recommend the high shadow resolutions. You're going to get much better battery life out of 40 Hertz and low or high-low here. Now we'll switch over to the 60 FPS where we're back to 60 Hertz on the deck, and you'll see again similar performance when it comes to low or high up there. When we come down to high, of course, when you kick in those shadow resolution setting to high, it really tanks your performance and gives you some issues there. You won't notice as much of the battery issue here as you do over at 40 Hertz because we're not capping and giving our system that overhead. So it's basically just eating up all the performance regardless. So no big battery savings here like you do see over on the 40 Hertz mode. So low or high again, if you're wanting to run uncapped or say 60 FPS, you're not going to run a stable 60, but you could definitely stay a bit higher. You will notice those frame rate changes from time to time, but for the most part, when you're playing the game without the graph up there, you're not going to notice as much. But that's the kind of performance you can expect from that. So what did I learn from all this? Just running the game natively here on Steam with the Steam Deck without any workarounds or mods, allowing the game to do its dynamic resolution and all that kind of stuff. Well, I learned that for me, the performance has been pretty good with this game, and I'm definitely going to enjoy playing through it pretty much all on my Steam Deck. I would recommend going unlocked frame rate like you see here with high-low settings. Enjoy the higher textures, and it might help with some of the muddying up of the picture that you get with the dynamic resolution. If you run into trouble with performance down the road when you get deeper into the game, you can experiment with lowering the texture resolution, see if that helps, and you can also go in there and mess with that number we had for the amount of characters displayed on screen. But my ultimate recommendation to get the best out of the performance, the experience, and the battery would be 40 Hertz mode. I think this is just a great feature of the Steam Deck, and it works really well here in Final Fantasy. I would again go high-low, enjoy the higher textures if possible, lower on the shadow resolution, and stick with the 40 Hertz, which is giving me a nice smooth frame time and will give me more battery life. But guys, that's just my opinion on the two ways I prefer to run this game on the Steam Deck, and I think the game in general just runs really well, at least in my experience here so far, and I'll definitely be playing through it on the Steam Deck. Guys, if this video helped you out at all, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and ring the bell so you know when new videos come out. I really appreciate you coming to watch, and I will see you guys in the next one.